Good evening, everyone. We will call this meeting to order. It is the regular meeting here at the Emmett Shockley Administration Building. It's Thursday, February 26, 2026, and it is 5:30 p.m. Mr. Cole, if you'll take roll.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Mrs. Johnson?
Present.
Mrs. Perez?
Present.
Mrs. Crumley?
Present.
Mr. Crowe, present.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I
The flag of the state of Mexico is the symbol of friendship among cultures.
Any changes to the agenda?
Madam President, no changes.
Do you have a motion to approve? I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
On to reports. On January 22nd, 2026, the Board of Education met in closed executive session. At the conclusion of our regular meeting, the board discussed only the matters listed on the agenda and stated in the motion to adjourn the meeting. There was no action taken in closed executive session. Any reports from NEA Deming?
NEA Deming.
I have nothing for that. Thank you. Mr. Wolfman, superintendent reports and updates.
Okay, well, first we'll go ahead and start on our slideshow. We want to invite Mrs. Simmons, Crystal Simmons, correct? From First Savings Bank here in Deming for a presentation. So if you want to approach up there, and or if you want to join us in the front.
Hi, everyone. So I'm with First Savings Bank. I'm the branch manager there, and we have a lot of money about it. And we have a debit card program for a Wildcat card, and a portion of every dollar spent goes donated back to the schools. So that is why I'm here today. I believe this year was $22.
I'm just gonna get a picture and we'll get it over to you, okay? Okay, well, they go on there. You want to get in there, Ms. Simmons? Yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. You're on the mission. Thank you, Mrs. Simmons. Appreciate it. Hey, thank you so much. There you go, a little. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great, Mr. Williams, Deming Cesar Chavez Charter High School Monitoring Update Presentation.
Thank you. We have a brief update from Sam Gonzalez. She's joining us virtually, so we'll have Mr. Whitler switch that on. And Ms. Gonzalez, Ms. Sam.
Hello, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the school board. I'm here to provide just a brief update on Deming Cesar Chavez. So I've met with Marlene several times since we've all returned from the holiday. In the school, I will say that I'm quite impressed. She's working to implement school-wide policies and procedures, and more specifically systems that I think are going to have a really positive impact on the school. I think most notably, I've noticed there's been a huge improvement overall on the governance website aspect. They've completely redone their website, You can find their minutes, their agendas, their meeting recordings, their OMA resolution, everything is there. The information for the board members is there, and it's all up to date. We're also very pleased to report that the quarterly reporting for the finances have been timely, and in fact, the school has submitted Q2. We have established a date for annual monitoring, and that will be April 20th. We will meet several more times to support and make sure that the school is prepared for that annual monitoring. But all in all, it's been a pleasure, and I'm really excited about the progress the school is making, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any clarifying questions this time for Ms. Gonzalez? If there's any information that you do need from the future, reach out to Charles and I will make sure that gets included in future monitoring reports from Sam. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Ms.
Yes,
Gonzalez.
thank you so much.
On to 6C, Deming Public Schools Special Education Evaluation Process.
Madam President, members of the board, we are currently responding to a Minnesota Public Education Department Office of Special Education Corrective Action Plan. Part of this systemic corrective action plan is related to resolving some evaluation timeline issues. The chart below, Ms. Reinhardt and Mr. Sines are going to explain to you a little bit about the process that we're using. In addition, this single sheet I'm going to give you also shows the state evaluation timeline. That way you're able to see the differences and how we're adding more detail. Ms. Reinhardt, Mr. Sines?
Good evening, everybody coming to the floor and Superintendent W. We come to you to really talk to you about the action we're taking as a district. In the corrective action plan, step 8, we needed to talk to you all about our policies. Although we're not changing any policies in relation to how we do special education evaluation, because the policies we have in place are tied to the state and federal rules, we are refining the procedures that we're doing. And in lieu of transparency, we wanted to bring these to you guys so you can see the immediate changes we are taking to address this corrective action. We did provide to you the state's guidance, and as you can see, the very first flow chart, this one, it's very minimal. And I want you guys to see the extent that we're going to improve our procedures on the same type of evaluation deadlines. And Mr. Sines, I'm going to turn it over to him to talk about the new procedures that we have developed to address the violations that we did receive based on the corrective action. Mr. Sines?
President, members of the board, Superintendent Waldemar. Before you will see our newly created pathway to go ahead and ensure that when parents are requesting an evaluation, I'll start from the left. There's 4 ways that evaluation can be requested. Parent note requesting eval given to a licensed staff. The next one is a request made outside of the IEP receipt committee. It should be an email to myself or the assistant director. It could be administrator at any one of the schools.
And we did, just real quick, we did create a new website that Mr. Glicker has been amazing in getting it going. And so we do have a new website called eval.request@livingps.org, and it will go to 6 people. So we can make sure we don't miss an eval. So I just wanted to highlight when Mr. Sines does say the email, Mr. Glicker was immediate. It's already active and we've already receiving stuff on it. Thank you.
The next one is a verbal request to a licensed staff. The last one at the way right is a request from an IEP committee, an EDT, where in the PWN, they will go ahead and note that they're asking for an evaluation, and we'll take it from there so that we can go ahead and start the process. So we'll start with the left. Of course, the second box underneath the parent note, staff signs and dates note reports it to the principal. And the principal has 24 hours to go ahead and send that through that new email that will have there'll be an opportunity for six of the people that it goes to go ahead and act on it so we can start the first step, which is the consent. If you go 2 boxes over where it says verbal request, the licensed staff will report it again to the principal, and then they'll use that website to go ahead and get it to our attention so we can go ahead and begin that process. We are putting together a multidisciplinary team that's going to be meeting possibly 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, made up of a psychologist, a lead psychologist, possibly another lead psychologist, an OT, a PT, and SLP. And their job is to take 2 days to go ahead and look to see if they have enough data or information so that they can go ahead and move towards an evaluation. As we go down to the next step to the left, not going to evaluate based on solid data. The district will provide a PWN with a rationale and procedural safeguards to the parents. And then the principal, the parent, and the teacher will meet to create an action plan to address parent concerns. For the MCT, you can go down to the right, agree to evaluate, prior written notice of intent to evaluate procedural safeguards, and request parent consent with date stamp. So we'll go ahead and get that as soon as we have the parents with us, get them signed in all areas, so that we go ahead and upload that into our spec track, and that way it's visible to all evaluators. We go right to the right, the request from an IEP facilitator request consent. We have some ESS office to obtain parent signature at the IEP, so they may go ahead and step out and just say, can you send me a quick PCT for the students? Maybe it's a diagnostic. We'll go ahead and email it, then we'll go ahead and bring it off on the blue color, which is our solid stamped consent. The PWN consent submitted to eval coordinator within 2 school days. And then we'll move down to the evaluator coordinator dates and staff's PWN consent. And then we'll move right to the middle. The evaluation coordinator scans and uploads into SpreadTrack and it's to SpreadTrack for the immediate filing. Evaluation coordinator notifies all evaluators of request via email and a spreadsheet that also is being worked on right now, so it's being shared with all the evaluators. When we go to the left, we're looking at the evaluation coordinator uploads eval packets into SpreadTrack within 24 hours of receipt and notify all evaluators to inform that the packet is uploaded. Or we can go to the right where the evaluation coordinator will track and also track evaluations. That way they can use the spreadsheet and notify admin and facilitators weekly, because parents are always calling the school to see where they are with the evaluation. This way they can go ahead and give one immediate. We're now in the evaluation part, so that they know that it's already moved from consent to evaluation. To the right, it says evaluators will upload eval to SpreadTrack within 2 days of evaluation completion. Must be within 60 days. Then the email evaluation coordinator when completed. Going back down, as we go down, it says that the facilitator will schedule an EDT after the evaluation is done. We've got 15 days to go ahead and get that set up, so we can go ahead and meet to see if the student meets eligibility. The facilitator will inform case managers weekly about the evaluation time and progress, and then of course the evaluation coordinator will follow up on any outstanding EDTs to make sure timeline was met. EDT Health, so there has completed EDT data, finalizes EDT and SPEDFACT, and that uploads the EDT into our Yankton campus. And if the IEP not held at the same day as EDT scheduled, held within 30 days of notice to parent, minimum of 10 days prior to stand for any questions.
All right, I have a question. How many evaluations are requested in any given month? By parents or by administration or more or less?
I don't have a definite number, but I know that they've
Quite a
been
few.
requesting, yes.
I can tell you right now, we have pending because of the corrective action just in our, so I do want the board to know, although we have a scope of time in this corrective action from October 7th to 2024 to October 7th, 2025, we are putting in these processes for the evaluations that happened before the timeline and the ones after. So we're not, although we have to report the scope, the problem IEP, the problem one to PED in that scope, I want you to know we are addressing everything. And there's a lot. So there's a lot. So I don't know how many are, here's what I want to be clear, not all of our problems are because we didn't do the evals. Some of it because we didn't do consent in the right appropriate 15 days. Or it may be that we didn't hold the EDT when we got the eval. So this timeline that we have, there's multiple areas that we have probably not met the state's requirements.
How many are we talking?
In the timeline of the scope, we're at 310.
That are outside the scope of
That is this that we have to report to PED as problem.
that had an issue?
That had an issue. To be honest, we haven't looked at the ones, we have a stack that we're looking for the ones before and after, and we're getting those going. So those evals have been assigned as fast as we can. We have to have the list finalized to the PED by March 6th of how many problems we have. And today we're at 310.
And is that you're just finding that it didn't follow the
Correct.
it was too vague to where y'all didn't know who was next in the step? Is that why this one is so much more in depth? Or are you trying to speed it up? Because I noticed like
This, the PED doesn't give us the detail, but we felt like we needed the very specific to make sure that we don't have this problem ever again.
okay, and with this one, it adds up to like 4 months. If everything took the longest, is that how long it typically takes, or y'all trying to do it quicker? Because that's the question I get a lot.
No, so
How long it takes?
I'm not measuring, but I learned a lot. So if say that a consent was given in 2 days, not the 15, the eval timeline starts on the day the consent was given. We don't get 15 days.
Right.
So if the eval was done in 20 days, not the 60 days, the EDT goes into effect right then.
So we could get it done in like 2 months. If everything was right on top.
Depending on
Right,
what
available.
each step takes.
But I will tell you, we won't, I don't know how we will, based on what the PED has given us, for every mistake, we have to have a PED facilitated IEP. And there's only 4 PED facilitators. So and I did meet with PED this morning to say, I don't know how we do this, because I don't know how 4 people can help us and we don't want kids waiting. So we are working with our lawyer and Nick's been great. We've been going and we're trying to figure out how do they want us to meet this. We've identified, and so that's a little area that still.
Madam President, members of the board, couple things, right? This is a significant issue that needs to be remedied to ensure students are being evaluated, and at the end of the day, if need be, have access to the supports that they need, right? This is not something that just happened this yesterday or this year, right? This has unfortunately been a situation that's been cumulative, and I cannot thank Ms. Reinhardt enough for her incredible leadership in learning services to making sure this gets done, right? In the last 4 months, the clarity her leadership has brought to tackling the situation has been very significant. And I know moving into next year, as we go into our budget process to examine how best we can support these needs of the department, I think we're on again, though it is a challenge, I think we're now going to be set in a positive direction to meet these needs.
We're gonna get back on track.
We are going to be back on track.
And I think it's the students who suffer, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I'm grateful that you all had the courage to bring it in this way. So I do appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
And I do want to highlight all of learning services. It's this group here. We've read 8,000 PWNs. They have put their job. Everybody, they're still trying to complete their own jobs, but everybody in learning services have read PWNs, and we've identified where evals have been requested because we don't want to miss a kid.
Right.
So we took every PWN and then we looked at every student's record. So we just didn't pay attention just to the timeline.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I've got one more question. What I noticed here is that there's a lot of responsibility that the evaluation coordinator has. So what's the difference between the facilitator and the coordinator? And where are the coordinators located and where are the facilitators located?
So right now, this evaluation coordinator isn't a person, it's a job right now, and right now I'm doing it. And we've also, Mr. Sines is doing some. What we did is it's a job description right now. Eventually, I think that's one of the things that I'm going to request that budget. But we wanted to be very clear. Right now, I'm fulfilling that role.
Well, there's a lot of responsibility on the coordinator.
Yes, but I wanted to talk very highly about the staff in the SPED office. The girls in there have been amazing. So we met yesterday. Every square we assigned who's going to help do that square.
Okay.
So we have a system. We're going to be tweaking it, but we are attacking every square with a person right now. But eventually this will become one person.
Once, I'm assuming this is final or about final as a process. Is this something that we can put in our policy handbook as a regulation?
Madam President, we can absolutely, we have our procedure manual that was provided. We can include that in that procedures manual, because that's typically what guides most of the SPED work in the district that support the policy, but that's the document that we have, and we can work with our attorneys to figure out the right spot for that.
Okay. Or even if it is going to stay in that SPED handbook, is we can make sure that that handbook is available online. Because I know even as a parent, I have trouble finding handbooks on the website.
And Mr. Sines and I have been working on a new handbook. And so we've been spending those days too as we creating a new handbook. And we will make sure that's in there as well. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
On to one-day procedures.
Okay, Madam President, members of the board, I live in southern New Mexico and I'm used to the wind, maybe not the bending wind. And so I just wanted to share with you, we did share these basic wind decision factor procedure with our community last week. Again, I think the decision factors are the most challenging things to look at. So we really rely on the National Weather Service. When are going to be the peak days, the peak wind gusts? What's the air quality? Have they issued any kind of alerts? Visibility, safe to transport kids, and really, when we're talking about the wind itself, if it's one of those days where the wind is really high in the morning, we can get kids here safely, but it's going to die in the afternoon. We're going to attempt to have school. It's really, as we get into a little warmer, a little drier here for the next month, it's looking at the afternoon. Okay. Next slide, please. Tim. So our actions that we're kind of trying to put in 3 buckets, we're going to try to stick to these as best we can. If we have enough information the day prior where we really can't get folks to school safely, we'll just cancel the entire school day. We'll try to let everybody know ahead of time. I've learned that if you know ahead of time, everybody can plan a little bit better. I also recognize that at the schools, at the school district, we're a large employer here in the district, and when we choose to go half day or cancel, I recognize that impacts the broader community in Luna County as well, because people need to be available to supervise their kids. We would always on a Wednesday that we think we can get a half day and we want to operate with that early dismissal. We've set kind of a standard early dismissal time that we're sticking to. That's the early dismissal times that we used last week. We would hope that we can continue to use those times. What I've learned is that, again, unless it's an extreme wind today, really the transportation kind of outside of town instead of the further routes, that's the ones that become a little more dicey. So if we ever have an early dismissal, and we think it's going to work out at 11:30, we're able to get those in-town buses going and the in-town pickup happening safely. If you feel, hey, you know what, I got a little ahead here with getting the kids down on the out-of-town highways, we'll hold those kids and shelter those kids in place, right, and deliver them when it's safe. Again, that's kind of what that last one says. If we happen to start a school day, or we think we can have school and we can't get that early dismissal, we would likely try to shelter in place. So these are our three, decision points that we're going to attempt to use this year. I know we have a lot of experts with our transportation department and safety department that give good advice on that. And again, we'll try to communicate via, Facebook and Infinite Campus. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Next slide, please. And then, of course, there's a little bit of other information here, right? Staff dismissal, our procedure for staff dismissal is in our CBA. We want to stick to that. And then we're currently working with learning services about any potential remote learning days. We have 4 days that we could use for remote learning if we needed to. We would really want to try to hold those for we might have to cancel the whole day. And so I know Ms. Reinhardt in between working on the special education project is working to communicate to our principals. So we need to get some wind days ready for our kids. That way when we go back for spring break, they can have a packet on hand or something. If there's an elementary kid, a packet on hand or something virtual to do. And then we'll work with the data integrity department to get that properly reported. So right now, that's our framework for responding to wind days. And we'll be happy to always take any feedback or input or anything that we may have not considered. Any questions that I can answer for you all at this time?
Questions?
Wait, thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
No public comment, Ms. Madam President.
On to the consent agenda.
Okay, Madam President, as we kind of move into this semester, we're going to really try to leverage some things on our consent agenda that are things that kind of already agree upon, things that need to happen. We provide that information to you all in the packet to review ahead of time. So I'm just going to give a brief summary of each of these items so the public will be aware of what this covers. Obviously, every month in consent, you approve the payment of bills, you approve the minutes from the last meeting. We have started to include our out-of-state travel on our consent agenda. So we have some of our archers here that are excited to travel to Utah at the end of the month. We have Frog Street curriculum that is the pre-K curriculum. It is a curriculum that they use. They're purchasing a new version of that because there is a now 3Y and 4Y version that they want to purchase, 2 different versions of. So that's from Mrs. Swing. Again, I know Ben would like to talk all about his disposal of technology products, but I'm going to put that on here too because Ben always gives great detail on his submissions. We have a replacement of the Suburban that was wrecked, I suppose, total. And again, that's what that is. And we have we ordered this from the state. We had ordered I think we ordered so they sent us a 44-foot bus, and we really wanted a 66-foot bus. So you already approved the purchase of this bus. This is just a little bit of an increase to make sure we can afford the extra feet on the bus. And then the amendment to the fleet service contract that's listing on the index, it lists all the buses that they purchased. It's just listing the proper VINs and other information on there. Then on the next page, you'll see we did talk about a couple of times the policy amendments to about booster organizations. We had a couple of reads on that, so this will be the final approval of that. We have a contract we are going to be entering in finally to get some design done on the replacement for Central Cafeteria. We know it's been in our last couple of bond elections, so we'll be doing that. Please note that is of course for approximate a combination of a multi-use, a multi-purpose room training center plus the cafeteria. At the end of the day, the architect will only charge us right for what we what we finalize on the design. So again, you'll have time to approve that design and review it as we go forward. This is just getting the architect under contract. Then we have a amendment to our fleet service agreement. That is, they got the new buses, so we have to have a new schedule of payment for those new buses, the lease payments. So that's just adjusting the lease payments based on the new buses that they received. And then finally, on the left-hand side of the consent agenda, we have it's time to replace the exhaust fans at Columbus Elementary School to make sure we maintain good quality air quality out there. So it's time to replace those, and that's a contractor to do that. And then, of course, on the right-hand side are all of the maintenance bars that are just moving things within function. So from supply material to maybe a salary. And there's a couple of increase bars on this consent agenda that are increasing the money received from the state for these transportation needs, paying for the buses and the new leases. That's what those increase bars are. So that's our consent agenda this evening. Any clarifying questions about the consent agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mulder. Any questions by the board? Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated by Mr. Evans. Is there a second? Mr. Cole?
Thanks, ma'am. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Pipes?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Thank you. On to our discussion items, creating a unified focus, core values, core purpose, and big goals.
So this evening we have Mrs. Principal Zimmerman. I saw Ms. Zimmerman here. This evening to show about Chaparral Elementary School. But this evening I think we'll conclude with the time in our March meeting. Oh, great. Okay, thanks, then.
Perfect. So we're going to work. So thank you so much for providing us the time and the platform to tell you a little bit about our school and our vision and our values. So I've got some students here with me today. Come on in. Right here. And Brian's been so the reason I invited them here tonight is because I'd like them to share with you our school's vision, mission statement. They say it every morning during announcements, and we built our core values and big goals around their vision. So here we go, guys. Thank you very much. So, that being said, in order to make sure that our core purpose is the guidance support them in that vision, as educators, we don't to put ourselves in the world by supporting them and being those role models. And we all know it's very important as adults, our adult actions set the stage for the learning environment. So our work environment becomes our learning environment. So core values for us are kindness first. We all know that life's tough right now. We always have to lead with our hearts, but everything we do is based on student growth and data driven. We encourage them every time to improve, to get a little better every day. And then our commitment is also to stakeholder collaboration, because we know it truly takes a community to do it. So our big goal is academic growth. We are hoping to raise the percentage of students being ranked on the benchmarks of literacy and math by a minimum of 10%. And in that community and family partnerships, our goal is to engage that by 25, or increase that by 25%. Time for any questions?
There was any clarifying questions for Ms. Zimmerman?
I'm curious to know, Ms. Zimmerman, what are some of the ideas you have for increasing community and family partnerships?
So we talked about right now, our PTO has planned every family event they're going to do is we do an announce right after spring break. And then we're also working with our solar committees at the school to create a touch card night. I think usually got come in and understand better what the student assessments are and what the things need to start with. So those are what we're working right now.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any questions by the board? Thank you. On to our action items. A, consideration to approve budget adjustment request.
Mr. Adcock.
Yes.
Mr. President, members of the board, superintendent, there's a handful of wires that we're presenting today. Title one, we're moving some money from direct instruction supplies to cover some benefits through student support. Number 11 is for migrant education. Again, we're moving some supplies over to cover some benefits and some travel. Number 12 is for IDOB. We're moving from some student support salaries into some instructional other charges. The pre-K, we're moving some money from support instruction to direct instruction salaries. And number 15 is it's an increased bar, but that is a new allocation that we got for this year. It has been a continuing grant between these. And that's any questions.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Adcock. Is there a motion to approve the budget adjustment requests?
Make a motion to approve the budget.
Is there a second? Mr. Phil?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Gomez?
On to D, consideration and appointment of board members to serve on the audit committee and finance committee through fiscal year 27.
Madam President, members of the board, these are two statutorily required committees that the board must have, both designed, right, to really help you fulfill your function of financial oversight and accountability responsibilities. Again, these are advisory committees, all relating to the budget will, is still in the purview of the full board. So, and I might have Joe be on standby just in case I do get this wrong, but I think I got it. So, the audit committee again assists with our annual audit. That's a process that, well, as always, I was saying, seems to be ongoing. It starts in July. And typically wraps up in January, February, but a little delay this year because of some federal shutdown and whatnot. And really, those two folks are invited to all those audit meetings. However, right, attending the exit conference is required or it becomes a finding. And I know that Mrs. Paez and Mrs. Cameron served on that audit committee. The finance subcommittee, again, it helps in getting more detailed information about the budget and planning and our financial statements. They become your two experts on that and can support you in providing additional information or advising on approval during a meeting. And gosh, I think Mr. Roscoe was a member, and it slips me out who the other, I think maybe Ms. Cameron was the other member as well. So, Madam President, for both of these, we would need members, board members that be willing to serve, and it can be this, that can be the same people on both or four different people. Doesn't really matter. We just need some people who'll be willing to serve on that, and we'll just need an action item to approve the board member, the members.
And we would need a maximum of two, right?
Two.
So we don't have a quorum.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So two on maximum of two on each.
Yeah. And then how often do these subcommittees meet, Joe?
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong on this. The audit committee, we have audit meetings monthly, typically starting when?
So,
About monthly?
yes, Madam President, members of the board, superintendent, the audit committee, this year we do not have to because we had already gone out RFP for the audit, and we had a 4-year contract. If we didn't have that and we had to back out the RFP, that RFP would start in about March, as soon as the Office of the State Auditor allows us to go out to RFP. And then there would be the evaluation, and those members of the audit committee would be part of that evaluation to help select the audit for the next 3 to 4 years, depending upon what the rules are at the time. The audit does usually start, we'll have an entrance conference, usually an interim in the May, June timeframe. So that they can do some interim work.
And that's a meeting that
That's
the board members would also need to attend, right?
The entrance conference and the exit conference does have to have a board member in attendance.
Okay.
You cannot have all the board members because
Right.
it's not a public meeting.
Right, maximum of 2. Right.
And then once the audit starts, they meet monthly to get updates on how that audit is going. The finance committee, we can meet as often as you would like. We've been doing it quarterly in the past, but we can make adjustments for that if you need to.
Thank you, Mr. Adcock.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or want to nominate themselves?
I'm willing to serve. Yeah.
Really? Okay. For both or one?
For probably, I think personally, I'm not as detailed. I think I'm more of a global thinker. So probably for me, the audit committee might be better.
I'll do the finance again.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll.
I could do the finance supplements. So maybe.
I will serve on the audit committee then.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, do I have a long motion for those appointments?
I make a motion that Mrs. Crumley and Mrs. Paez are on the audit committee and that Mr. Crow and Mrs. Johnson are on the finance committee.
Have a second?
I second.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Thank you. On to paragraph C, consideration to adopt academic calendar for school year 26-27 for the pre-K program. Mrs. Sweet.
And while Ms. Swinney's approaching the podium, so pre-K is a grant, and so it requires a separate approval of the calendar, though glancing at this does line up very well. Thankfully, again, with our currently approved calendar. Ms. Swin.
Good evening, President Crumley, members of the board, Superintendent Waldman. Do you guys have copies of your calendar?
We see it on
I can give you a copy too. So our calendar, we do kind of mirror the K-12 calendar with days off. There are some things we have to do for K. Our teachers and staff start on the same days and the same days, and all vacation days are the same. One of the differences you'll see is we are required to do home visits. So we have 3 days at the beginning of the year for the home visits. We are required to do a welcome day. So we do have a welcome day as well. And then we do have every Friday, and there's on May 19th, we also have we have half days. Pre-K does not have specials where teachers have planning time. And so we do have to build in that planning time. They also have to sanitize because 3 and 4-year-olds put everything in their mouth. And so these days serve for their planning time, and they also serve as time for our EAs and support staff to help sanitize. We also, one difference you'll notice is we are required to have 3 parent-teacher conferences. So we try to mirror the school conferences as much as possible, if we're able. And so, but you will see a beginning, middle, and end of year conference. So our total hours we have to meet is 1,080, and we're able to do this with calendar with 1,086 hours. So we have some wiggle room with those 20 days. Yeah. If you have any questions, we're here to answer this.
Questions for the board?
How many preschool students are in the district right now?
Right now, we are roughly, it varies all the time because they're coming in and out.
Yeah.
We are right at 79, 83 something in there because we've been moving on our 3-year-olds. Our grant is for 96. With our 4-year-olds, we're down this year with our 4-year-olds. It's hard to get them to stay because of the attendance fees. We do require them to come and they have to be present, set those expectations. And the grant also requires the attendance fees. So we're at like 179 with our 4-year-olds, but our grant does allow 205. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
On to, oh, sorry. Do I have a motion to adopt the academic calendar presented to the board?
I make a motion to adopt the academic calendar for the school year 26-27 for pre-K program.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
On to board announcements and requests for items. Are there any requests for items or information for our next meeting from the board?
I just want to know, I'm going to go to Columbus.
Thank you, Mr. Crowell. I'll have Mr. Bell speak with Mr. Turner. We did have a conversation about going a little bit later in the spring when it's with the clocks change, so it's a little lighter in the evening. So I'll make sure that I speak with Mr. Turner and that Mr. Turner that gets scheduled. We'll schedule with one of our meetings before we have our regular meeting before the end of the
You
school.
don't want to be to where you can't make it down there.
Yeah,
Or shut down, right? Or by the end of it, it would be probably, but getting down there might be hard.
Okay. Any other requests for items or information for our next meeting? Okay. The board will be having a work session on March 5th, 2026 to discuss proposed policy updates. And the day of the next regular meeting has also been changed and will now be held March 26, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. Both the work session and the regular meeting will be held here at the Emmett Shockley Administration Building.
Madam President, before we adjourn, I do want to let the board know, in that work session that we have next week, in addition to policy, probably going to have opportunity to touch a little bit on the budget survey, the community budget survey results, to get a glance at that, in addition to getting your input on the revision of our strategic plan. So we want to leverage that time to see if we can hit 3 important things next week. Thank you, Madam President.
Understood. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yay.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.